Each and every day, enjoy the Simple Six menu at Subway, an entire made-for-you meal featuring one of six-inch sandwiches like the Italian BMT or Black Forest ham, with any bag of chips and a 21-ounce drink, all for only $6. Subway. Eat fresh.
The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects. The BS Report. The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report, taping this on a Monday morning. On the phone, our friend Cousin Sal. We guess the lines every week. Last night, we were guessing the awards. We both went to the Emmys. I went as the date of James Baby Doll Dixon, who had like 3 of the 5 clients in the best variety show and was ready to cheer for all of them. Stephen Colbert ended up winning, and Dixon immediately dumped all his other clients and was hung out with Colbert the rest of the night. Sal, is that an accurate description of what happened?
I think that's right. And I need to know from you exactly what his reaction was when Colbert won, because we may have to fire him as me and Jimmy and a few others, maybe even Jon Stewart.
Well, he had gotten his story together with the Comedy Central people. They were all pushing this Archie Manning storyline. They were saying, oh, it's like when Peyton and Eli play. You're rooting for everybody, and you feel terrible the whole time. So that was like the
really?
company. The company line was that no matter who won or what, I don't believe it. I think he was really excited for Colbert.
I think he feels terrible the whole time because he smokes upwards of 7 packs of cigarettes a day. But
that might be it.
He could be right. Yeah, it might be something else.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never been to a real award show. I'd been to the Sports Emmys once, which is rigged towards certain networks. So there's not as much suspense. This is like anyone can win. It's a giant theater. It's 6,000 people. There's real tension. I thought it was cool. The show itself wasn't very good, but the actual tension of the awards I enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool, but like when they say it's an honor just to be nominated, it's like, yeah, not when you're buttoned up. You could barely button your top button, and you have to sit there for 3 hours. You can't TiVo through it, and it's, and you lose 3 categories in 20 minutes. I don't know. All of a sudden, it's not such an honor, but it was fun to be there with you guys, and I don't know. It was sad though. It was one of the sadder Emmys that I remember, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had 5 different tributes to recently deceased people who did well in the TV industry. And that on top of the in memoriam montage, it maybe might have pushed it a little too far. Each one individually was like really good and poignant, but it became kind of almost a grim show. Like it's supposed to be a celebration. At that part, I don't know if they might have overdone it on that side, I felt like. Yeah,
I thought so too. And then when they started killing cats for no reason. I thought that was a little over the top too. Michael Douglas, the whole thing was very sad.
My question is, why did you have all these shows like Breaking Bad, Dexter, Ray Donovan? All these shows are going head to head against the Emmys. All the people who care about those shows were in the room, unable to watch the shows, which I guess.
It's outrageous. I think a few years ago they skipped a week. They usually skip. Especially, like you said, Dexter finale. People have been watching for years and years. And as it was, I mean, did you watch Breaking Bad last night? I got home at 2:30 and watched the whole thing in 75 minutes.
I got home pretty late and started watching it and fell asleep. So then I had to watch it this morning, over preparing for this podcast. Yeah, I think because here's the thing: in the Twitter era, you just texting and I didn't want to just have to avoid my cell phone for the rest of my life until I watched the show. So we could talk about that at the tail end. Let's talk about the downfall of another formerly successful person, me. I cannot pick games this year. I mean, it's one of those years. It happens from time to time where you just have no feel for the league. And I did very poorly yesterday. Some bad luck in there, but I know we always say this after 3 weeks, like, oh, what a weird year, but the Giants-Carolina game was one of the weirdest results I can remember in a while. What did you make of that game?
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I make of it. I'm not saying football was fixed, but that game opened at Carolina -3 Sunday afternoon. And then when we guessed the lines Monday, it was Carolina -1. And it shot all the way to the Giants -3. I mean, that was a 6-point swing in a week, and it had nothing to do with injuries. It was just really public perception, and the Giants have to win this game. And I was on it too. I had the Giants as one of my best bets, the super contest pick, and I really wish I had abandoned it like halfway through the week, like Friday actually. I was like, God, there's just no way everyone wins with the Giants giving 3 at this point. It can't happen. It was such a sucker bet. Now, no one thought they would lose 38-0. I really don't know what's going on there, but you talk about a sucker bet of the year. That was it.
So that the lines that moved heading into yesterday's games, another one was the Rams-Cowboys. Ton of action on the Rams.
Right.
Ton of action on the Vikings. And then the Browns ended up winning that game outright. And then
that made sense a little, at least. You know, the Hoyer's quarterback and, the Richardson trade, whatever. That one.
And then the Texans, there was action.
Yeah. That was another sucker bet. Ray Rice is out. The Ravens are a 1-point underdog to the Texans, and they get slaughtered.
Yeah, somehow this is part of my problem with picking games this year. Somehow I'm always on the side with whatever the sucker bet public thing is. I should just go against myself for the rest of the year. I should do the Costanza.
And the Packers were another one. I mean, everyone liked, and I think you analyzed it right in your column. You said Rodgers against Dalton. It's like, yeah, that seems about right. And then I don't know how the Packers lost that game, but it was bad. Terrence scoring touchdown. Maybe my Super Bowl pick isn't so bad after all the Bengals.
I'm going to say I don't feel like that was a bad pick. That's pretty fluky. It was 30-14. The Packers were actually driving. They were going to put the game away, and Rodgers threw a dumb pick. Does seem like there's some weird stuff going on with that team, though. I'm not – Rodgers seems – I know we overanalyze quarterback body language too much sometimes, but that team doesn't seem like it's running on all cylinders. Something seems funky. I don't know whether it's a Rodgers-McCarthy thing or what's going on, but that – and I only saw the first half of the 49ers game, but that team might be really in trouble. They got some weird stuff going on. The Aldon Smith story is bizarre. It's one of the most bizarre stories in the last couple of years, right?
That is strange. And I don't know what, sure you want to win and you don't want to have to pay a guy a huge amount just to sit out, but you want him to do well. But the 49ers, with Alex Smith, they were always the team that, like, God, they play really good defense, but if they get behind 7, do you like them? It's just a toss-up at that point. And now, could the same thing be happening with Kaepernick? Like, how could we have overvalued him? What's happened in the last year or so?
They threw me off in week 1. I thought it was gonna be tough for them to make the playoffs. I can't remember if I picked them to make it or not, but I thought because of their schedule and their receivers, it just seemed like they had Bolden and that's it. So then in week 1, they throw everybody off with that Packer game. And Bolden has 200 yards, and it's like, oh, well, Kaepernick's just going to be great, and they're fine. Then last week against the Seahawks, they played poorly. They had trouble moving the ball, but it was like, it's Seahawks, you're in Seattle. So now yesterday against the Colts, now there's real problems because they obviously teams have figured out that Bolden is his only target. They didn't have Vernon Davis. And they, the NFC, you get the Packers at 1-2, and you have the Niners at 1-2. Pretty interesting. There might be a 10-win team that doesn't make the playoffs in the NFC. It's
weird because, well, first of all, when we did our over-under podcast back in August, late August, we saw that the AFC South, which we thought was going to be miserable, aside from the Texans, was playing the NFC West. We're like, wow, let's just go under with 3 teams in the AFC South and over with 3 teams in the NFC West. And it's looking like it's the other way. The AFC South has got a stronghold on the conference. And now, like, the NFC West, it's up in the air. You don't know what to say.
Well, taking that even further, one of the things, I always try to have a plan on like 5 or 6 things going into the season. I thought the NFC was better than the AFC this year, like legitimately better. And it actually looks like it's the other way. The AFC killed the NFC yesterday.
The AFC is like, what are they, like 4-0 against they have a crazy record against the NFC, but they're they're on fire. 9-3. I don't know what it is, but they I became depressed. Like Friday, I started to think about the Cowboys. They're not a very good team. Even after this week, I would say they're an okay team. But I'm thinking, all right, best case scenario, we're in this crap division this year, and we're going to win the division. And then we get the Niners to the 5 seed. They come to us in wild card weekend, and they beat us by 2 touchdowns. Like, that's the absolute best I could hope for. Now, bring it on, Niners. Come on, we're waiting for you.
So I haven't officially locked in my half-ass power poll for week 4 yet. But if you look at the top 12, number 1 is Seattle, obviously, but 2 and 3, Denver, Miami, Chicago, New Orleans, Cincy. So now we have 1, 2, 3 AFC teams. New England, Houston, Atlanta. So that's 5 AFC teams. Then Kansas City, Tennessee, and Indy at 12. So I only have 1, 2, 3, 4 NFC teams in the top 12.
Right.
So it is lopsided anymore. Yeah. I think Green Bay and San Fran are out of the top 12, and it's an argument about whether Dallas is above or below them. Just Green Bay, you could say, like, all right, fluky week 1. Kaepernick just got hot. The Bolden thing was crazy. And then yesterday they should have won. Like, I feel better about Green Bay than I do about San Francisco. San Francisco, there might be some problems.
Well, let me just say this. And I know we have to go on here and we can't say, oh, it's early in the season, so let's see how it plays out. But why even have a power poll at week 3? Like, really, everything changes from quarter to quarter, not even week to week. So. But,
I do it because in my head I'm trying to figure out whether the lines are right or whether, like something like the Colts. I thought the Colts were in the mid-20s, and they had a really, really, really impressive win yesterday. And, now you have to think, like, is that a playoff team? It seems like there's 8 teams in the AFC that are potential playoff teams.
Yeah.
And only 6 can make it. I think Miami, Miami looks like a top 5 team right now. And that was a big win for them yesterday against Atlanta at home because they haven't really had a home field advantage. So
that was one of the few things we were right about. What were we right about? We were right about Miami going over. We like Pittsburgh going under. And was that it?
You mean for the season?
Yeah, I don't want to go through every team, but what are the glaring? Even the Jets. We were definitely wrong about the Jets, who could were a play or 2 away from being 3-0. And what else were we definitely wrong about? Everything else, basically.
Well, we thought we liked the Saints, so that was good.
Yeah. Right.
After watching the Browns yesterday, they might get to 7 wins. They're not bad. Browns aren't terrible. The Trent Richardson trade didn't affect them in any way.
If they get Ben Tate for like a second rounder and get to keep Josh Gordon, that's a good deal, right? It ends up being a good deal, I think.
Yeah, but why? Do you think they can trade for Ben Tate during this season?
I don't know I didn't think they could trade Trent Richardson after the second game. And furthermore, I can't get a straight answer from our friends, and I don't expect to at this point. But do you think? They were in it after 3 quarters against Miami and Baltimore. If they win one of those games, you think they pull the trigger on that trade?
Well, the interesting thing about their game yesterday was that Josh Gordon came back. Josh Gordon missed the first 2 games. Yeah. He came back. It stretched the field for them. It made their offense actually look passable. And plus, Hoyer's better than Whedon. Not that Hoyer's Tom Brady, but the big winners yesterday for me, the Dolphins. You have to win that game. They're legit now. I think we have to take them seriously. Right. I was taking them seriously already, but I think in general people have to take them seriously. I think the Colts, I thought they're going to get killed. They're 1-2. If they get killed, then, it's like, why'd you give up your number 1 pick for that dude? You should have protected it. They totally transformed their season. And then Tennessee gutting out that San Diego game. They're pretty good, too. The AFC is interesting. I'm worried as a Pats fan, even though they're 3-0. Like, if we don't get past the Dolphins and we start losing some of these games coming up, like, maybe 10 wins doesn't get you in the playoffs in the AFC. Maybe it has to be 11-5. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Jake Locker is under the radar, becoming one of the better quarterbacks in the league somehow. I would not want to play that Titans team anywhere. And but you have to feel good about the Patriots. Like, you would have thought like Brady would have to go 3 more weeks to get in sync with these rookie receivers, and he did well yesterday.
No question. Hey, I got to say though, I watched that whole game with our friend Hench, who's a lunatic.
Yeah.
Brady had 7 or 8 terrible throws in that game.
Yeah.
And I don't know there's no way that they have QBR. They have all these different ways to measure QBs, but the one stat I've always loved to see that you got to almost measure it by the bad throw is just terrible throws to a wide open guy or grounders or throwing it when just missing people. He really didn't have a good game in that respect. So I don't know what's going on with him, whether he doesn't trust the receivers yet or what. But
still, I think it was like 10 for 18 with the rookie receivers, and I think it was like 2 for 12 the week before. It was in the rain, granted, but
yeah, it was better.
You're getting there.
The Bucs had a chance to really make that game interesting and tense in the first quarter and a half, and they had did you see it? They had a 4th and 5 on like the 33 or something. They went for it. They didn't get it. Then they didn't get another 4th and short. Then all of a sudden we were up 14-3. But Freeman, Freeman hasn't thrown 50%, hasn't completed 50% of his passes yet in the season. Like, that's terrible. Come on, Josh Freeman.
Yeah, that's really bad.
I don't think he's ever been the same since I dumped him.
You know what? Maybe one booty call with him, and then you can get it, and you can get it all back, just like that.
Maybe I should call him and make sure he's all right. Let's do Week 4 lines. Week 4 is a week that I've always done well in Week 4 for some reason. I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah, I feel big comeback for me this week.
Look at that. You've never lost in Week 4. I'm looking at this now in our 37 years of doing this. No, I don't know. All right, Thursday night, San Fran at St. Louis.
So this gets really interesting for the Niners because 1 and 2, they're semi-reeling. They have this crazy Aldon Smith thing. They've had some injuries. Now all of a sudden they're playing a Thursday night in St. Louis against a team that played them really well last year.
And, if this were a Week 2 game or Week 3, I'd be more excited. But these two teams were just awful yesterday. I don't know. I really don't know what to expect.
Well, I wrote about this on Thursday. Like, I just think the Thursday night game is you DVR it and you zoom through it in 30 minutes. I don't think America should waste 3 hours watching these Thursday night games anymore. They are consistently atrocious. Consistently.
Now, it's just because of the 3 days rest, because they don't have awful matchups. I mean, Eagles Chiefs should be a good game. Rams Niners, even after this yesterday, should be a decent game. But what is it? Is it the two middle-aged white guys that lull the teams to sleep in the broadcast booth? Can they hear that? I don't know why it should make such a difference.
I think it's the 3 days rest.
Yeah.
I just don't think I think that's brutal to do, these guys.
Yeah. I guess so.
And they have these bye weeks. I've written about this before, but they have the way they could use the bye weeks so that you go Sunday, 10 days rest, Thursday, 10 days rest, Sunday. If you made 2, there's some way to rig this so that they don't have to do it the way they're doing it.
But there's somewhat of a push for an 18-game schedule, 18-week schedule. Still would be 16 games. Each team gets 2 byes, and then you wouldn't have to worry about playing on 3 days rest ever. They would be able to sort it out that way.
And by the way, why not do that? Who's against the extra week of football and 16 weeks instead of 18 weeks? And I think they might have tried it once and it didn't go well for some reason. And then everybody assumed it didn't work. But
that extra week also puts you at President's Day is the Monday after the Super Bowl. So it'd be nice to have that day off anyway, most of the country. So I don't know what the hesitation is, really.
And that has been something we always thought that Monday should be a holiday anyway. So anyway, right. I'm guessing 49ers favored by 3 at St. Louis.
All right. I guess 5, and it's 4. So we split it. We were right in the middle. Let me point out, you're 2-0-1. You won 2 of the first 3 weeks, and we tied 1. So
okay.
Plus 1 for me. Yeah, we tied that. It's 4. I don't know. I could see it. I could see it going a little higher, I think. Boy, those Rams were awful yesterday. Just awful.
Yeah, but DeMarco Murray ran amok.
Yeah, and it didn't really make sense because the first two games of the year, that the Rams proved to have like a really good front seven. So I was expecting that the Cowboys would pass all over them. But yeah, Murray seems to have their number no matter who's playing on that front line.
One thing to watch out about with the Rams, that's not 2 weeks in a row that they've fallen behind big early, which is never a good sign if you're an NFL team. You don't want to be the team that's always down 17-21, 2 quarters into the game. So they might be terrible. Who knows?
Well, they're Cowboys West, but really Central, but the West Division. But in that they don't stretch. They don't go for long plays. It takes them too long to score, and that's not a good game plan against the 49ers.
Yeah, it's dink and dunk. Anyway.
Yeah. All right, Sunday, Baltimore at Buffalo.
Yep. It's either 2.5 or 3, and I guess 2.5 for Baltimore.
All right, you get it. I said 4. Oh, no, I get it. I said 4, and it's 3.5.
Oh, you do get it. Okay.
So I'm closer. Yeah. I still don't know what to make of either team. I guess the Bills are going to play all good games this year. The Ravens, on paper, it looks like a great win against the Texans, but their offense still seems to have questions. And I think it's one of those things where you return a punt for a touchdown at home, you're just going to win, right? Is that what you took from that game?
Yeah, I went into that Texans game thinking the Chargers are better than people because the Texans didn't look good in week 1.
Yeah.
But we thought it was like, oh, they did a stink bomb against that crappy San Diego team. Well, San Diego's actually decent. And then in week 2, they came back against the Titans, but I like the Titans more than most. Like, I think the Titans are good. And I think actually on Grantland, Mays and Barn will agree with me. So I went into week 3 thinking Houston's actually underrated because they gutted out those 2 wins against San Diego and Tennessee. And now in week 3, they're going to beat up Baltimore. And instead it went the other way. And now I don't know what to make of Houston.
I mean, he threw an awful pick. Schaub threw an awful pick. And like I said, that punt return. And then you just, I don't know, the home team gets momentum, and there's just no coming back from that.
I don't want to write off teams, and, with week 3's not even done yet, but it's really hard to think of Matt Schaub and Andy Dalton playing in the Super Bowl. Yeah. I just don't think they're good enough. Like, they make really big mistakes. And Schaub particularly, like, I don't know. I think that guy just I don't think he's good enough to win 3 straight playoff games or 2 to get you to the Super Bowl.
But it's funny you say that because Schaub and Dalton have met the first round the last 2 years. It's
I know.
Like, all right, whichever one he wants to take this. Although I guess it wasn't Schaub the first year, right? It was
right.
But he but yeah, I agree with you. Even the Texans at home in the second round game, I wouldn't like. I don't think.
Okay, what's next?
Arizona, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, this is a possible loser leaves town match. I had the Bucks by 2.5. I think that might be too high, though.
No, you hit it exactly. I said 3, and it is 2.5. So,
I saw a good chunk of that Cards Saints game. The score was a little deceiving. There was I think the Cards were at least ready to do the cheap cover in the second half, but Palmer threw a bad pick when they were driving, and then the Saints got their insurance touchdown. That was it. But it wasn't a blowout. I didn't feel like that game was totally one-sided. The Cards can't run the ball is the problem. I
think this is what it's going to be for this Cardinals team. They'll be competitive in these games, and Palmer will keep them in it to the third quarter, and Honey Badger will make some nice plays, and then Palmer will blow it, or they just won't have enough steam to put it over the top. They're not the worst teams in the NFC. Believe it or not, you would think Arizona, Tampa Bay would be the worst, but the NFC East is carrying the torch there.
Well, we talk about how it's a pass-happy league, it's flag football, that stuff, but if you can't run the ball at all, it's pretty dangerous. And I think Arizona's in that mix, the Giants 100% in that mix, and a couple other teams. You need to at least be able to run the ball a little bit. So, anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, well, Pittsburgh at Minnesota. Well, not at Minnesota. This game's in London. Features 2 0-3 teams.
Oh, my Lord. On a Sunday, too. Oof.
Maybe they do have the right football. I don't know. We have, they're still fawning over that royal baby. They won't even notice these teams haven't won. They'll be all right.
You know, I would say that Pittsburgh should trade Roethlisberger, but I don't know what team would want him.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the teams that you would think would want him are not teams that need a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the same thing. And I feel as a supporter of Tony Romo, no matter what he does, I feel bad for guys like Roethlisberger and even Eli Manning to an extent. Although I can't believe I'm saying it. They just don't have a chance back there with these lines, especially the Giants lately. But
if you're Houston, would you trade Matt Schaub and a number 1 pick for Roethlisberger?
Oh man, you think they'd have to give up that much? I guess they would. How old is Roethlisberger now? He's been in the league 10 years.
It's like 31.
Right? Yeah. He's probably like the 7th oldest quarterback in the league, or less.
Could they win the Super Bowl if they had Roethlisberger instead of Schaub?
Houston? Yeah, I think they're close. I think they'd be close.
I would have to think about it. Maybe do like Schaub and a 1 for Roethlisberger and a 3, something like that.
Listen, after last week with our buddies Paul, yeah, do it now.
Well, this is a terrible game, and I didn't realize it was in London. I guess the Vikings by 3.5, but I thought it was in Minnesota. I thought they were the home team.
You're continuing. All right, what do you think?
I'm going to say pick 'em.
I actually guessed this exactly, so it doesn't matter. Pittsburgh by 1.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, Minnesota by 1. Minnesota by 1.
Okay. Yeah, that's a terrible
fair.
game.
I think they're throwing their hands in the air, the odds makers. Somebody show me something here.
I think Pittsburgh's the 2nd worst team in the league.
Yeah, really, in the whole league.
In the whole league, yeah, I do.
I mean, to see the Raiders play.
You could make a case. The Raiders won. The Raiders won a game already.
Yeah.
What does Pittsburgh do well? What's good about their team?
Boy,
they can't block. They can't play defense.
Giving up 40 at home is just there's no Steelers team in recent history that you remember doing that. That's just bad time.
Their whole season was on the line last night, and they were on national TV, and they gave up 40 points at home.
Yep.
I guess you could say the Giants might be worse than them, but I can't write off the Giants because at 0-3, you're not out of the NFC East. They just need to get to 9 wins, and they're in it.
Yeah, but they just can't play. Well, they play the Chiefs this week. Actually, that's the next game. We might as well do it. Giants and Chiefs.
I had the Chiefs by 7, and I love the Chiefs in a tease.
All right. I figured Vegas would have no idea what to do with this game, and I think I was sort of right. It's right in your Vegas zone. It's 4.5, and I said 4. And,
that's too low.
But now what do we do? Now what do we take the Chiefs and then the Giants? Giants show some life. I don't know what to think of this stupid team. 13 turnovers in 3 games.
Eli had a catastrophe of a fantasy football day yesterday and murdered teams all over the place.
Yeah. It is funny with the Giants running backs. Like David Wilson will have a big run and still celebrate. And we put Jacobs in the end zone. Like they still have that swagger to them, but not productive at all, this team.
Yeah. Bad. You must love it. Who loves it more, you or me, that the Giants are 0-3?
No, it's terrific. It really is the best. I don't know why I'm feeling bad for Eli. I shouldn't, but it's the best. Indy, now they're saying Coughlin. I mean, if you were to rank the coaches now, Ron Rivera pretty much saved his job. We should mention Green Bay and Carolina are in a bye. Ron Rivera might have saved his job in a big way. You can't fire a guy after winning 38-0.
That was the only reason I picked the Giants in that game, because I just thought it was the natural ending to Ron Rivera. Terrible loss. Right. He gets fired during the bye, but no.
Yeah,
I would say
guys quit on the players or not, but Cam Newton certainly has not quit on Ron Rivera.
I would say Coughlin's on the legitimate hot seat.
Isn't that weird?
That team rolled over.
Yeah.
The other guy is
Schiano.
Schiano's up there. Well, Schiano definitely. The Vikings coach, I think, has to at least be mentioned.
Frazier, yeah.
But I wouldn't say he's a leading candidate.
Off the hot seat for a second.
Yeah, Rex is off the hot seat.
All right, Indy at Jacksonville.
Colts by I picked Colts by 7.5.
Yeah, you get this. I went a little lower than that. I said 7. It's 9.5. No respect to the Jags, even at home. Who could blame it? I don't know. Maybe there's a little letdown, though, for the Colts this week. Why did we take the Colts under in 2 of their 4 weeks? They have the Raiders and Jags. Then they had a Miami team they were favored against. They lost, and they beat the Niners. Why did I go under with them?
The Jags need to think about doing a version of what the Browns did with that Trent Richardson trade. I would trade Jones-Drew right now. Make your team worse. Get like a 3rd-round pick for him or a 2nd-round pick or whatever. And then if you're like, there's a couple teams that need running backs who are kind of lingering. And I don't know. I'd roll the dice with Jones-Drew.
I think he's in a contract year. I don't know what they can get for. I don't know what they trade him right now. I don't know what they would do, but
hold on. Let me do.
It's a bad.
Let me do. Who needs one here? Seattle, Denver. Oh, Denver potentially. Cincy, no. Houston, Atlanta. I guess none of the top 12 really desperately needs a running back at this point.
No, I mean,
maybe Green Bay.
Yeah, it would be Green Bay, I guess.
Man, but they gave up, but Eddie Lacy will come back eventually. Well, if somebody gets hurt, that would be interesting if they trade him. All right, let's keep going.
Like a failure if they trade for after drafting a Lacy in the high up. Next is Seattle and Houston.
I had Seattle by 3, and it's probably 3.5. I messed that up.
No, we both had 3, and it is 3.
Oh, okay. So, good. Well,
now I'm going to want to take Seattle here. They're just better, but do they let down after a couple big wins at home?
Well, I'm looking up Seattle's schedule right now. So if they win this game, and
they could beat any team. They could beat really any team. You could look at their schedule, but
so they go at Houston, at Indy, next 2. Home for Tennessee, at Arizona, at St. Louis, home Tampa, at Atlanta, week 10. They could be 9-0 going into that Atlanta game.
There are a couple of tough games in there, but I think they're going to be favored in every single one of those.
Yeah. I think they're favored in every game, unquestionably, until that Atlanta game. But they got Wilson going a little bit yesterday.
They're damn good. They're good. The defense doesn't let up, and God forbid you ever have to play them in Seattle. They don't have a chance.
Well, the other thing is they're going to go 8-0 at home, so they've already got one road win. They just need to get to 4-4 on the road. They win 12.
Yeah, you get 3 more road wins there, and they're gonna. I think they've run away with the West. I think we thought it was going to be competitive, but what if the Niners are 9-7? Cincy at Cleveland.
I had the Bengals by 3.5. I kind of like the Browns.
You're right. You're going to like them even more. I had them by 3, and it's 5.
That's going to drop. Points. Gotta say, the Browns really kind of wreak havoc a little bit on the D line.
Yeah,
like they make plays.
Yeah,
the reason
Talent,
that
Bingo, they're a good team defensively.
Yeah, the reason Minnesota got back in that game was because of the turnovers. Hoyer had one bad pass. He had one, his arm got tipped. It was a little bit of bad luck, but the Browns offense.
Jordan Cameron, with all their moves, they should franchise this Jordan Cameron, this tight end. He's a touchdown machine. It doesn't matter who's throwing to him. This really could work out for our friends.
Yeah.
This is going to be funny. And, I was planning on going there against Jacksonville. Was it December 1st or December 2nd? And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to go now. We'll be the only ones in the president's box rooting for the Browns. Everyone's going to be rooting for the Jaguars for the draft pick. But now I don't know. Now what do you do? They look like a team that can win 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, and who knows? Like that, it's not like that Bengals team is a juggernaut.
Yeah.
What's next?
What do we have? Chicago at Detroit. Good game. Good test for both these teams. They're both.
Yeah, I had Lions by 1.5. I kind of like the Lions.
Yeah, I had the Lions by 3, and actually it is 3. Exactly 3.
Oh, wow.
The Lions are doing something they've never done before. They're playing defense. Their opposing quarterback's rating is like 70, which is ridiculous for them.
Well, Sue had a great game yesterday.
Yeah. Chicago, Henry Melton, the defensive tackle, is out for the year. So, I don't know. They could lose. I don't know. We undervalued the Chicago team for sure, but
I picked them to make the playoffs. But now I'm worried because they're at Detroit this week, home for New Orleans week 5, Giants at home, at Washington, at Green Bay. Mm-hmm. Actually, that schedule is not as tough as we thought it was going to be in August, right?
No, now that they're good, yeah.
Like those are some crummy. They have St. Louis coming later, and they have Cleveland, and they have Philly, and that Bears schedule might not be as bad as we thought.
All right. So I don't know if we're even looking for teasers anymore, but that's it for the early games. I like Indy over Jacksonville. The best game,
Seattle-Houston.
Seattle-Houston for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Late afternoon, Jets at Tennessee.
I had the Titans by 6. I thought this was a tough one.
I had them by 6 also, and it's 4.5.
Vegas zone.
Favorite Vegas zone.
Well, didn't the Jets have the Jets had like over 500 yards in offense yesterday, right?
They were good. And I mean, it looked like a game that was looking to give up. You know, they have those games that just take it from us, and then they showed some flash in the fourth quarter. I have Geno Smith. I have EJ Manuel as Rookie of the Year, and it could be Geno Smith right now.
That would be unbelievable.
We should have just taken both quarterbacks.
I also think Rex Ryan has to be considered Coach of the Year. He put Sanchez in the fourth quarter of that preseason game and intentionally injures him to get Geno Smith so he could play Geno Smith. Very savvy by Rex Ryan.
It was a smart move. And you know what? Someone should tell, I don't know if he's aware of this, Chris Berman someone should tell him that the Jets were originally called the Titans. So maybe he could he can maybe make a 7-minute skit out of it. I don't know.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah. Washington at Oakland. Not a good idea.
I'm glad there's sewage issues at the Oakland Stadium. I think they fit in with this game. Raiders by 3.
Now, you were way off on this. You're going to kick yourself.
Yeah.
The 0-3 team, Redskins, are favored by 3, and that's what I had. Redskins favored on the road.
Rarely am I 6 points off, ever.
Yeah.
I think I think I will be vindicated. The Redskins suck. They're terrible.
Are pretty bad.
They're a bad football team.
I mean, are they worse than the Giants? You just said the Giants could win the division with 9 wins. I don't think they're worse than the Giants, and this is a must-win, right?
The Redskins have issues, though. Like, they're just not good defensively. And, you know, Griffin and I'm not seeing it.
The Redskins are awful defensively. You think, ask Joe House, but they we forget they had to make a big run at the end of the season to get anywhere close to the playoffs.
I'm not buying them.
All right. Philly at Denver.
I had trouble with this one. I thought about doing 13 for Denver, but then I ended up at 10.5. It's probably too low.
No, we're going to split this one. I said 9.5, and it's 10.
Oh, okay. That's going to go higher.
That's about right. All right, we got Denver and Indy.
Well, you talk about bad defenses. Philly's right up there.
My God.
Really does seem like Denver just would be surprising if they ever punted.
I mean, Chip Kelly's a genius, obviously, but maybe want to slow it down against Denver? Do this to your poor defense?
They're not going to do that, though.
No, I know. Well, they had 10 days rest, so maybe they'll figure something out where they can cover. Dallas at San Diego.
Ooh. Like this game.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I'm taking my son to this game, so we don't really have a chance of winning. But you think the Chargers? You had them by 3?
I had the Chargers by 3, and the Chargers really are 2 plays away from being 3-0, and they're not even too stupid. They're not even too conventional plays. They're like too crazy plays from being
right.
You know, that touchdown yesterday was a great pass by Locker. Got to hand it to him, but it's that's about as tough of a loss as you're going to have.
All right, I had Cowboys by 3, only based on the fact that they're the best team in the NFC, if not all football, after yesterday. But Cowboys are favored by 1.5, so I get that one.
Wow, so I was off on that one too, big time. So I'm really out of sorts this season.
No, don't
That's
give
two
up.
games. There's 2 games where I'm off by over 4 points.
Yeah, but we had very little sleep last night. Well, you know what? I'll let you do it again. I don't want you to get down on yourself. Good. You want to take? You want to say 1.5? You could say 1.5.
I don't agree with that. I got to say I don't agree with that line. I think the Chargers and the Cowboys are even. I might even like the Chargers like a teeny bit more.
Really?
Yeah, I think the Chargers are decent.
You know, it's really in this league. These lines are made on what have you done for me lately, and I think they're going by yesterday's result. All right, Sunday night, New England at Atlanta.
I got Atlanta by 3.
I said Atlanta by 3 also. Atlanta only favored by 1. It's a big game for Atlanta. You were rooting for Atlanta. You should have been, I mean, obviously against the Dolphins anyway, but you would have felt a lot better about going into Atlanta had they won yesterday.
Yeah, I picked Miami. I had them in the Super Contest. I wagered on them. I felt like I did enough of a kibosh that I ruined them for the game, and they somehow still won it anyway. I think Atlanta should be favored by 3 in that one because it's
your defense
a huge
has been
game.
very good. This is your first test defensively. I mean, you can't speak highly enough of the Patriots' defense over the last 3 weeks, but yeah, it does. I don't know. And then Brady on the turf. I don't know what to do with this. I would stay away.
The thing is, you can't say it's a must-win for Atlanta because you look at their schedule and there's a lot of cream puff on there now. All of a sudden,
right?
They have 2 Tampa games. They're at Arizona. Arizona might not be that good. They're at Buffalo. Buffalo might not be good at all. They have home for Washington. That's a win. They'll be favored by 10. They're at San Francisco, Week 16. San Francisco might be 6-9 at that point. Who knows? And then they're home for Carolina. So it's be hard for them not to make the playoffs. But they can't go 1-3, I don't think, and make the playoffs. So this is a must win.
I think you're hoping that Matt Ryan is listening, just so that he takes it easy on the Patriots. You don't have to win this one, Matty. Win Week 5. It's fine.
The interesting thing about the Pats offense right now, other than the fact that all the receivers are basically dead even with the 2006 Pats who had terrible receivers, but I thought everybody thought Ridley was going to have this monster year. I think he went for like in the 30s in our fantasy league that you got kicked out of. And sorry, I had to fit that one in. And Ridley is like sharing carries with Brandon Bolden. So, I don't know whether running backs are just disposable or what's going on, but
there are 9 running backs that are just you could throw your hands in the air. You have no idea why one's good, why one's not good. I mean, C.J. Spiller, people spent all their auction money on him. He's banged up a little now. He's terrible. Like you said, Ridley, David Wilson for the Giants is one. All these guys, even
Maurice Jones-Drew, Ray Rice.
Yeah, it goes on and on.
And then DeMarco Murray, who's in that group, and then all of a sudden he has 30 points yesterday. Right.
All right. Speaking, by the way, I know you had to bring up me getting kicked out. The highlight for me for the Emmys was John Hamm, who was part of that coup to kick me out, walking by, not looking at me. I gave him a nice little love tap to the stomach. I was going to go to the crotch, but I didn't want to break my hand. And he turned around like, give me a what the F look, and then he saw it was me. And just basically turned and kept walking. That's my Emmy story.
Nice. I like it.
That and Jenny Kump touched my shoulder by accident.
Oh, Jenny. She looked great.
Yeah, she did. Monday night, Miami at New Orleans.
Great game.
2 teams, 3-0.
It's about time ESPN got a good Monday Night Football game. I didn't think that was part of our contract.
Yeah. How did it
I had the Saints by 3.5, probably too low because I respect the Dolphins too much.
All right, I got this exactly. I said 6, and that wins me the week 11-9 or 12-8 or something. And you're now leading 2-1. Yeah, New Orleans is giving 6. That's a big number.
That me losing fits in with the rest of the week I had. I lost both fantasy leagues. My picks sucked. I'm hungover. You guys didn't win. Your show lost both Emmys.
You got to talk to Louis C.K. and Robert Smigel. You were fine.
Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. Smigel's coming on the podcast this week, which will be fun.
There you go.
Yeah, so I guess that was a win. Kerry Washington and I walked by each other, and we locked eyes for, I'm going to say, 1/3 of a second, but it was a moment, and nobody can tell me differently.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
There it goes. So that not all was lost.
I think I hate that Rob Ryan's a genius now for New Orleans, but I think they have their hands full a little with Miami. Miami has like receivers that look like they want to catch the ball. It hasn't happened in years, but all their receivers like dive for balls. They seem to play hard, but maybe when the temperature changes, it'll be a little different. But it looks good right now.
Yeah, Miami, including myself, everyone thought they overpaid for Mike Wallace, and they did. But they have Mike Wallace on their team. Like, ultimately, they have a guy who stretches the field and fits in with what they're trying to do, and he really helps them. And I wish Mike Wallace was on the Patriots.
Yeah, I think he does more than even when he catches the ball. Like they're focusing on him, and these underneath guys are catching the ball, like Clay and Hartline, and they lost Devon Best, so it doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah, it's not rocket science. The Pats had it with Moss. Like, if you have a guy that everybody's afraid is going to run for 40 yards in a straight line and catch the ball, it opens up a lot of stuff. I like that Miami team, and Tannehill has exceeded everybody's expectations. I wrote about it a little bit last week, but he's really solid and getting better. I also I don't mind Locker. I think Locker is decent. Out of the guys from that class, I think those two have a chance. Ponder, I'm pretty down on. Gabbert, just cross him off. But
Ponder's weird because you want to count him out, and then Gabbert, he runs for touchdowns. Like I don't know, he shows some flash things he shouldn't be doing, but. Ponder is strangely confident sometimes. He must be a frustrating QB to root for.
Yeah. All right, Cuz, promote something.
What are we doing? What, Breaking Bad talk? Or no,
I dumped you for Breaking Bad. I'm talking to Alan Sepinwall. We're calling him right now. Yeah, you're out. You're out on Breaking Bad. You got to work. Right, it's 11 o'clock.
All right, just answer me this.
Yeah.
One of these happens. Walt dies. Jesse dies. None die, or they both die. What's your
interesting. A, B, C, or D.
Gotta go with one.
So from now on, we're doing Breaking Bad spoilers. So if you don't watch Breaking Bad, you can turn off the podcast.
Yeah. I guess I should have said that. Yeah.
Well, that's all right. I think Jesse lives and Walt dies.
Jesse lives and Walt dies. Yeah. That's what I think. But I think he does himself in. He gives himself in somehow.
I think Walt dies and becomes a zombie on Walking Dead, and I think that way they keep Walt going. That'd be good, right? At least work him in on one episode.
I like that, and as long as we're pitching shows, I like Walt playing poker with that fixer on ESPN to dump the whole World Series of Poker. Just go with that. I can watch that for hours.
That would be funny if Cranston joined World Series of Poker next July dressed as dying cancer Walt.
Right.
And that was just like his look. That would be cool. Cuz, promote something.
All right. Jimmy Kimmel Live tonight. Paul McCartney, a live concert on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, my Lord.
Don't even show up. There's too many people. Timberlake tomorrow doing the same thing. I feel like we won an Emmy. That trader John Hamm is on later in the week, and Rebel Wilson, and my Grantland blog had more winners. I lost on the teaser. Giants +9. I did not cover that, but I had the Skins Lions over in the first half, and Pats over under 25.5 versus the Bucks. That comes up Friday afternoon.
Excellent. As always, a pleasure. Next week we'll talk. We are going to blow out everything.
Yeah.
Monday. Breaking Bad finale. That'll be great. All right. Thanks, guys.
Good job
by you. Good job. Talk to you. All right. We're going to have Alan Sepinwall from HitFix.com on next to talk about Breaking Bad's second to last episode. But first, a word from our friends at Subway.
Right now at Subway, any regular footlong is a $5 footlong all September long. Like the turkey breast, meatball marinara, and buffalo chicken. With tons of $5 footlongs, it's the most celebrated value in the land. Subway, eat fresh.
All right. Breaking Bad spoiler alert continues on the phone right now from the hospital. Hitfix.com. Alan Sepinwall, one of our favorites, a long time recurring regular in the BS report. And you had your appendix taken out 2 weekends ago and then somehow did your recap anyway from the hospital bed. Can you just tell that story?
Yeah, I came into the hospital a week ago, Saturday night, Sunday morning, whatever, and my appendix ruptured while I was in the ER. They did surgery. I was being kept in there. My wife brought me my laptop, and it turned out that my room got AMC and HD, so I figured, what the heck, let me at least give this a try. I had people at HitFix on backup watching just in case, but I felt just coherent enough, and it was such a good episode, maybe the best episode they've ever done, the one that aired a week ago, that I woke up enough that I was able to write it. And, I'm still in the hospital. I have complications and infections and things, and hopefully I'll get out soon. But I was still here last night, watched another episode, did it again.
Unbelievable. So, but the good news is your health looks like it's coming back, and you're going to be
hopefully I'll be home in a few days. I can't imagine not being home in time for the finale. So, which will be nice because
it's like what you're Walter's real life proxy. Your body's breaking down like Walter. It's almost you're his conduit to the real world.
Well, it was after the last night's episode aired, before I could actually start writing the review. My nurse, I had told her, don't come in when the episode's on. She understood. She came in when it was over. She said, I have to give you 2 new IV ports. And so I'm sitting there and I'm getting her putting in a new IV, and I'm just thinking about Robert Forster doing that for Walt a couple of minutes ago in the episode. It's really weird.
So you think at this hospital you're at, they're like, yeah, this guy, he had his appendix taken out. There are complications. He's writing recaps as this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Do you feel like they're talking about you in that way?
It's very possible they think I'm a colossal moron. I don't know, but it's certainly possible that other people I know think that too. But it's been a good sort of outlet for being in here much longer than I probably should need to be here. To have the outside world, to have the technology at the point where I can watch these shows. I have Wi-Fi. I can write about them instantly, so I don't feel like I'm just trapped here in the way that say Jesse is trapped by the Nazis.
Would you put yourself above or below Willis Reed in the 1970 finals? Or Kurt Schilling in 2004, the Bloody Sock game? Where do you rank against those two?
I want no association with anything to do with Kurt Schilling and the Bloody Sock. The thing about Willis is, as you point out, he scored 4 points in that game. The star of that game is Clyde.
Yeah, poor Clyde.
I don't know that I would want to put myself on the Willis level anyway. He's a Hall of Famer, but it's...
All right, so Schilling. Definitely it's Kurt Schilling. I would say you're the Kurt Schilling of TV recap guys. I think this is great.
If you keep pushing this, Bill, I'm going to be here for at least another 3 or 4 days. Have mercy. I'm an ill man.
The Schilling Bloody Sock of TV recaps. The thing I loved about it is this is kind of one of the things you bring to the table, right? The show happens and you have this supernatural ability to write a really entertaining, coherent recap almost immediately after the show ends and get it up online. This is something that I think has really helped you from a career standpoint. That's one of your calling cards. And then this Breaking Bad, possibly the greatest show of all time. We're down to the last 3, and God says, I'm going to test Sepinwall here. I'm going to actually screw up his appendix. He's going to have to go to the hospital. Let's see if he can do this under these conditions. And you pulled it off.
Yeah, there's definitely a part of me that's been saying, you know what, you're not going to get the better of me. I'm not going to miss the chance to write about the last 3 episodes of the show.
Because who knows? There might never be another great show. This might be it.
There are days when I feel like this and days when I don't, but good Lord, I'm going to miss writing about this one. I can't believe there's only one left.
Who knows? You never know. We might have there might be like a Mount Rushmore type situation with the 4 greatest shows ever, and then that's just the way it goes. And then, who is the successor when Breaking Bad goes up? Then we're looking at Mad Men split over the course of a year, 14 episodes, where that I think is really a mistake. But then after that, I don't, there's
still Game of Thrones. There's Orange is the New Black, which was kind of fantastic on Netflix this summer. There's some new stuff. The Americans could turn into something. You don't know. And you don't know what's coming around the pike yet. So
I hope you're right with Game of Thrones. But that's a show I don't like culturally, do you feel like Game of Thrones would ever be on that Breaking Bad? Maybe it will. I don't know. What do you think?
I just know that, every time I go for procedure, I had a PICC line put in today, and the nurses were asking me what I did, and I said, and that immediately leads to them asking questions about their favorite shows, and I think Game of Thrones was the second thing somebody asked about, and he was so excited to have somebody to talk to about it. I think that's definitely penetrated a lot of places at this point.
Well, I went to see Rush last weekend, the racing movie, and Game of Thrones lady. I don't know anybody's characters. I just know the faces. I don't know the names. But the really hot lady who's put her hooks into Joffrey, that lady, played by Natalie Dormer. I know her real life name and not her character name.
Marjorie Terrell.
Yeah. So Marjorie was in Rush. I was excited. I was like, oh, look at this. Look, Game of Thrones. So it's definitely has passed that point that The Wire hit once upon a time where you see Wire characters in other shows, and it's super exciting.
Yeah, it's a nice feeling when that happens.
Yeah. All right, so Breaking Bad, what was your take on these last couple?
Okay, the one 2 weeks ago where Hank dies and Jesse's taken prisoner and Walt and Skyler have that fight with the knife is, like I said, the most intense, horrifying thing they've ever done, although this week's episode was pretty horrifying, too. I've said for a long time that the best final season of any one of these kinds of shows is The Shield, and it's such a good season that it kind of drags The Shield into the pantheon all by itself just that 1 year. I think this year is a better version of that so far.
Oh, interesting. See, so do you think I could just watch the 10th season of The Shield and none of the other 9?
It's only 7. I think, maybe... Probably not. Season. I think you're going to have to go through the whole thing. You're going to have to suffer through Chickless being short if you want to do it.
No, it's not even that. I tried to watch the first season. It was excellent, but it's really dated. I mean, it came out in, 2000?
Yeah.
It feels like, just felt kind of, I know that as the seasons passed, they started doing the show in a little more professional, I don't know, it looks a little more modern.
If you want to jump to, say, season 4, that's the one with Glenn Close and Anthony Anderson. Season, and that sort of starts pushing you towards the end game. Then season 5 brings in Forrest Whitaker. That's one of their best ones. And that might be a way to go if you're insistent on not doing the full thing.
So that Breaking Bad has really hit this point now where it's like everything has come to roost. And it was like, oh, this is so much fun. He's blowing up Gus. He's in Mexico. They turned the trick on him. And like all the stuff we love about these bad guy TV shows and movies where there are no real repercussions. And now it's like repercussions with a capital R.
That's all it is. It's entirely, this man is a monster. He has destroyed everyone around him. This business is not a fun fantasy. It's filled with people like Todd and Uncle Jack. And this is the sort of brutality that would actually happen. It wouldn't be crazy blowing up half of Gus's face. It would be Andrea taking a bullet to the back of the head.
Yep. That was tough.
Very tough.
On top of it, they play a trick on us with Landry from Friday Night Lights, who everybody loves. If you have any
I've been making so many jokes for so long about him killing dudes that this feels like typecasting to me.
Well, if you have the Friday Night Lights history, Landry's just this. You're in on Landry, and now he's wreaking havoc on this show, and is I guess. Could you make the comparison? Like he's kind of the Marlowe of the show a little bit?
A little bit, yeah, sort of. It's like the business stripped with any sense of, pride or joy or anything other than just the ruthless desire to get the job done. When
Right.
they see the kid on the dirt bike last summer, he doesn't even hesitate. He just he waves at him and goes for his gun. He has no conscience. Nothing troubles him. And he just really wants to date Lydia, which is hilarious and disgusting and horrifying.
Lydia, who was originally the Mrs. Brody.
Yeah, she was. They replaced her with Morena Baccarin, and I thought about that the other day, and I was trying to imagine like Morena Baccarin playing Lydia, and I don't think she could be this weird and twitchy as Laura Frazier is. So
I went to the Emmys last night. Morena Baccarin was there, and she's like 13 months pregnant. Like the baby was had a chance of coming out last night, but very beautiful pregnant lady. But yeah, so I don't know if that ties into the Homeland season, or they figured out a way to maybe she maybe they filmed it already or what, but I thought that would be an interesting monkey wrench if Mrs. Brody was pregnant.
I also suspect that they may be working around the Brodys somewhat, but we'll see what happens when we get there. Let me ask you, because I'm watching Breaking Bad, then I wrote about Breaking Bad, then I took some drugs and went to sleep. I did not see this crazy Breaking Bad song and dance number they did at the Emmys. You were in the theater for that. What was that like?
It was all right. It's a long night. You're kind of, it's over 3 hours, and you're dressed up, and you're wearing you're wearing like hot clothes, like you're wearing a tux or a suit or whatever, and you're trapped in these seats, and you can't really go anywhere for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it's not like that show is like moving crisply. So they've been like, hey, we're bringing out Sir Elton John. It's like, oh man, really? Like, it's the last thing you want to see is Elton John, but it moves. It's weird. It kind of ebbs and flows. It was cool being there. I loved the tension. But that choreographed number was one of the best things about that show in person. It was pretty neat.
Cool.
Yeah, you're kind of looking for stuff to stay stimulated. The interesting part was during the commercial breaks, they play history of the Emmys stuff. And so it was actually good, like seeing like old speeches and old moments and things like that. But it was really shoddily produced. Like there was no rhyme or reason of when they were coming up, or there was no history put into context or anything. But it made me think like, I don't know, just the history of the Emmys is really interesting to me. The speeches and who mattered. And there was one of them, they showed Mary Tyler Moore from early 70s when remember how beautiful she was?
Oh, yeah.
And made me think like, man, Mary Tyler Moore really missed out on the internet era. Like you take if the internet was around in 1971, she would have been the queen of the internet. Everybody would have just gone bonkers for her.
Forget about Mary Tyler Moore, show Mary Tyler Moore. Dick Van Dyke, show Mary Tyler Moore.
Exactly.
The internet would have melted down.
Exactly. She missed that whole window of people. So, and then I was thinking like all these different people who had the internet been around, it would have been just so like Seinfeld. I think the first couple of years, the internet would have driven the ratings for that show well sooner than it would have happened, I think.
Yeah.
And I think Friends people would have turned on a lot sooner. Cheers would have been really interesting. The Shelley Long, I think she would have become like the Anna Gunn of Cheers, were just this polarizing character. People would have wanted to get rid of her.
God, I hate that Diane. She's got to go.
Oh, Diane, she's ruining Sam. But it was interesting to watch the history of that show because they never replay it. It's not like they replay award shows, which is weird in itself. Like it feels like maybe it's illegal to do it, or maybe because of the rights or whatever. But it would seem like some weird channel, maybe not even E, not even as good enough as E, should get the rights to all these award shows and almost be like ESPN Classic, just start showing them. So I feel like I would stumble by them and be like, oh, this is weird. What is this? And you would start watching it.
And when they watch last night's episode, they'll be like, wait, this is the year that Jeff Daniels beat everyone?
Oh, my. Could you hear the audience reaction to that?
I think it either happened during Breaking Bad or while I was getting the IV line put on.
Legitimate gasp. In the audience, people are like, oh, it was like one of those noises. But I do think Breaking Bad got hurt with a couple with having two people in the same category and two writers in the same category and stuff like that, because it's just common sense, right? Like Mike's going to take votes away from Jesse and vice versa.
But they're dealing with the episodes from last summer, which, while really good, were not at the level of this. I think they're going to come in next year, and unless some other show has a Hall of Fame season over the next 9 months, Breaking Bad's just going to sweep everything a year from now.
True, but I think the Mike's last episode on Breaking Bad was the best episode of television. I don't even like versus Homeland Q&A. I know everybody liked the Homeland Q&A episode, but Mike's last episode, nobody was beating that. It was the best one.
And yet,
who's beating Mike's last episode?
That's a really good one.
So I think it hurt them in those categories, but I have no explanation for how Cranston or Draper.
Well, I think it's the nature of the speech, because they're judging him on one episode. And so for Daniels, it was the first episode of the newsroom, and he's got that big speech at the beginning about how America's not the greatest country anymore, but it could be, and it's all the flowery Sorkin oratory. And I think that the Emmy crowd, to an extent, eats that up. And I think, they decided at some point that they just didn't like what Ham was doing, which is a shame. But also, he submitted the one where Draper gives the Hershey speech, which is a great speech and maybe the best acting he's ever done on the show. But it's also so sad and creepy, and I think it's easier, if you're an older Emmy voter, to say, I want to get behind the one about, how America can be good again.
Do you think there's a liberal aspect to that, to Jeff Daniels winning it all?
I absolutely do. I think James Spader won a bunch of Emmys over Gandolfini and other people in the Mid-O's for episodes of Boston Legal where it was just him giving, a David E. Kelley public policy speech.
Another thing they don't do with the Emmys is they don't have the votes. They don't tell us how the votes were and how close people came and stuff like that, which, God forbid, because, William Goldman's talked about this for 3 decades with the Oscars, but God forbid God forbid anyone had fun with the votes and how the votes turned out, and that we could look at them and be like, oh my God, Claire Danes beat so-and-so by 2 votes, that'd be way too much fun.
This is dignified stuff.
I know. Well, it made me think last night, though, that in sports with awards, for the most part, we do well, right? I remember my book, I did a whole chapter, my NBA book, about the worst MVP injustices. And there were really only 4 or 5 horrible ones. For the most part, you could say the right person either won or you could make a really strong case. You see what happened last night. I just, Jeff Daniels winning the Emmy, it's just ludicrous. It almost makes you not want to take the show seriously, Yeah,
Ham's never going to win. Jason Alexander never won. Steve Carell never won. Martin Sheen never won. If you want to go old school, Jackie Gleason never won an Emmy for playing Ralph Cramden. That's ridiculous.
That's what I was talking to Smigel last night, and he's coming on the podcast this week, but we were talking about awards and just how stupid they are sometimes. And his Jason Alexander thing, he made the same point. He's like, you can't get too upset about the Emmys because Jason Alexander never won for playing George Costanza. And I was like, is that true? He's like, yeah, he never won. Jason Alexander never won for George Costanza.
In the 90s, it was usually either Michael Richards or David Hyde Pierce.
Right. David Hyde Pierce, who I'm sure was good on that show, but it's a little like the Jim Parsons thing now, right? Where he's won a bunch of Emmys, but 10 years from now, I don't. Or maybe, actually, I'm going to recant that statement as I was making it. Maybe Big Bang Theory does have legs. I don't know. It certainly seems like it's got its niche hardcore audience, but
I think that's the show more than anything else that comes up in conversation right now when I'm with civilians, where it's just, anytime I start talking to somebody about what I do and they start naming their favorite shows,
yeah,
Big Bang Theory comes up really quickly in that conversation and more frequently than anything else.
So I just did a Dan Dierdorf. I made an argument and then immediately disagreed with myself and went the other way. But I think when you look back at Frasier versus Seinfeld and Jason Alexander versus David Hyde Pierce, that doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense right now.
Pierce was great. I'm fine with him having some. I just, it's ridiculous that Alexander doesn't also have one. That's, again, one of the iconic characters, one of the iconic performances. I've been in here. I haven't really had sort of the mental energy to watch a lot of new stuff, so I've been doing a lot of comfort food, a lot of Netflixing and things like that. Been watching a lot of Seinfeld, and God, he's so good in that.
Yeah, really, really great. And I also think Matthew Perry, season 1 Friends, should have won something. Or I don't even know if he was nominated. Season 1 Matthew Perry and Friends was off the charts.
Sure.
I would defend early Chandler Bing to the death, and then the writers said we're going to cut his nuts off and get him involved in this Monica storyline. That was it. But we digress from Breaking Bad.
We digress really far away from Breaking Bad. I'm sorry.
Who lives? Sal asked me this before you came on. Walt dies. Jesse dies. Walt and Jesse die. Nobody dies. What do you pick?
I think a lot of people are going to die. I don't think we're headed for any kind of happy ending. I just hope that basically Andrea is the last of the innocents to die, but I don't know that she's going to be. It feels like they've set us on kind of a course here where they're not that they're going to punish us for having watched it. It's not like the Seinfeld finale exactly, but they're making clear what show this is and what world this is. And I think we're going to have a lot of heartbreak here in the last episode, and certainly I can't imagine Walt surviving unless the idea is that Walt is the only survivor and his whole family dies and Jesse dies, and he has to go on and deal with that.
Is Walt coming back to take care of business with the Nazis or to take care of business with his old business partners who are now pretending he had nothing to do with the company?
I don't know. There's been some people who've been speculating that he heard Charlie Rose mention the blue meth and therefore put two and two together and realized that they're cooking with Jesse, but he knew that Todd was cooking already, and I don't think he was ever told about the screw up with the color. So I think right now he's just going back because he doesn't like the idea that he wants to end the story on his own terms, however that is. And I suspect we're going to come back and we're going to see him wandering around Albuquerque a little bit in the finale, and then he's going to discover what the Nazis are up to, and that's what the machine gun will be for.
My friend Jason Whitlock has taken the corner, which I'm not surprised he did, because I knew the Breaking Bad Greatest Show Ever stuff was going to make him snap, because he's like The Wire is his Bible. So he's taken the tack now that Breaking Bad this season isn't good. It's been unrealistic. It's overrated. Nobody is being critical of the show. It's too critically loved.
This is a show that put Danny Trejo's severed head on an exploding tortoise. It's not a realistic show.
So,
never been a realistic show.
Okay. So do you feel like the show has been too kid glovesy with the critics, or the critics have been too kid glovesy with this Breaking Bad?
I strongly disagree with that. I think this has been a great final stretch of 8 episodes. There was like one right before the one in the desert, which felt like a little bit of a letdown, but overall it feels like they're just piling on the pressure and piling it on. And I watch these episodes and I forget to breathe, and it feels like I'm trapped in a nightmare that I don't want to end because it's so good. This is great stuff.
And Cranston, at the very least, like him and Gandolfini now, I think are 1-2 or 2-1 or however you want to rank them with the all-time great performance / character, everything about it. Like, would you put anyone else on that level?
I'm trying to think. If Deadwood had run longer, I would put Ian McShane there because that's a great performance too. But the show went away so relatively quickly, and we didn't get to see that character evolve as much as we saw Tony, and definitely as much as we've seen Walter White evolve. That's really what makes it special, is not just that it's a great performance, but it's been so many different performances over 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the guy in the pilot versus the guy who blew up Gus Fring versus the guy these last couple of summers versus the sad guy in the cabin who's paying Robert Forster $10,000 to play cards with him, it's
right.
Doing a lot.
So you think, do we go 75 minutes? We go 90 minutes next? How long is next week's show?
I'm told that it'll be 75 minutes again. And what's funny is Vince Gilligan has been really apologetic about it. Sons of Anarchy, the guy who runs that show, the episodes regularly run 90 minutes. He kind of just doesn't care. FX lets him do it. And Gilligan's like, I was trying so hard to do a regular length episode and it didn't work out and I feel bad.
Let me ask you this question. It's very important. You might make sure the nurses are on hand, because I don't want this to set you back from a health standpoint, because it might make your brain explode.
Okay.
AMC announces on tomorrow at noon. They say, you know what? We've decided to make Breaking Bad season finale available on Friday night at 7 p.m. It's going to be $59.95.
Yeah.
Pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And listen, you don't have to get it, because we're showing it like we always show it on Sunday at 9 o'clock. But if you want to pay-per-view it early, it's available for $59.95, like a boxing fight. Would you be mad, or would you applaud them?
Okay, I thought you were going to ask whether I would buy it, which I would in about half a second.
So would I. So would everybody.
Yes, but I would feel like it was an extortion scheme, because not just because I would want to see it as soon as humanly possible, but just because the way social media works today, if I didn't watch it that night for $59.95, I'd be screwed, because everyone would give away everything about it by the time Sunday rolled around.
What if they said it's $59.95? We're donating 1/3 of the profits that we make from this to drug rehab, whatever, and all these different places to help people who are dealing with addiction.
That would be a very clever way to lay off some of the anger on their part. I would do it. I would not be happy about doing it. But it would also sort of fit into a pattern of some of the stuff AMC has done lately, where it's like, I think they've started to realize that they're other than Walking Dead, which is an even bigger hit than this, they really haven't developed anything big. And so their goal right now is just to sort of milk what they've got. So now we're going to get the Better Call Saul prequel spinoff. We're going to get a Walking Dead spinoff. They're going to split Mad Men over 2 years so that you can stretch out, those episodes a little bit longer. So it seems like part of that playbook.
Low Winter Sun, I think they had really, really, really high hopes for. And it just didn't resonate for everybody has different reasons. I just didn't keep watching. I didn't like it.
It just felt like, like bad imitation quality TV. It's like someone has watched all of these shows and thinks, all right, well, if I throw in a lot of growly guys and, moral ambiguity, that's all I need to do. Right.
And guys walk in on the street, starting an episode, having like a pop culture conversation. And it's like, I don't know. It did seem, everything seemed derivative. And I didn't love the actors that they picked either.
What's funny is the main guy, the bald guy, played the exact role in the original British version.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. They're at an interesting point because to me, like, this whole thing isn't rocket science. Like, the shows that have made it are people that are driven by these really fantastic creative minds that do it by themselves, and it's not bullpen by committee. And it just seems like your key with these shows is to bet on the right people who are doing the show and just find whoever you think the most talented person is or somebody with a vision or whatever, and you just roll the dice with that person. And I don't understand why that's so hard.
Sometimes you roll that dice and you get Venus Suit from The Killing. So it's sometimes easier done than said. There's not a lot of Vince Gilligan necessarily.
But like Walking Dead is, I think, an anomaly. What is it? They're on their third showrunner now, but it's not a great show.
Yes, it's a pretty good show that can occasionally be great. But yeah, they're about to be on their third different guy running it.
I was talking to somebody I know who's seen a lot of the pilots for this season, and they were saying, this stuff's like just so mediocre and so uninspired.
There is one show that transcends mediocrity. That's
Which one is that?
Sex on Showtime, which I really like.
Oh, well, I was talking about networks.
Yeah, no, the network stuff is all pretty forgettable. There's a couple of comedies that could be good down the road, but aren't necessarily. Like Brooklyn Nine-Nine seems pretty good. One with Andy Samberg and Fox.
I like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but there's a good example of they turned it over to somebody.
Yep.
I think Michael Schur at this point has a lot of cachet. They're not going to mess with him too much.
Yeah.
And that's really the only way you're going to get a semi-original show. It's funny, like, that show was really stupid, obviously, but intentionally so. And I just like Samberg. Yeah. I'm in on Samberg. I'm just, whatever he wants to do, I just get a kick out of him. So I hope that show
I've been in on Andre Braugher for 20 years. So.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to be out of the hospital in time for the season finale,
yeah,
right?
Although it appears that some people need to talk to me right now about my condition, so I should probably get going.
Go. Listen, Kurt Schilling, Alan Sepinwall, 1-2-2-1. I don't know the order. It's like Bryan Cranston and James Gandolfini.
You are officially killing me. If I stay in this hospital forever, it is your fault, Bill Simmons.
Good luck with your recovery. Thanks for coming on. We're all rooting for you. Hope you get better. Congrats on everything, and look forward to reading your last piece.
Thanks, man. Bye.
All right, take care.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNRadio.com.
Peace out.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.